what if we got all our dreams come true and we're granted our wish? What would we ask for? And you're like, well, you started going up around names and then you said Gary Vaynerchuk. And this is where most people stop. They stop the dream and like, oh, that was cool. That was a nice fantasy role play exercise, whatever, it's cool. But when you put into action, actually getting in touch with these people, finding out the fees, and then that commitment check of $75,000 just to get things going.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be on your feet and welcome to the stage. Give it up for Gary Vaynerchuk!
I am tired of people not starting and living their life on one very simple thing, which is they're worried about what other people think.
Tell me what was going on in your mind, good and bad or otherwise. Am I going to really do this? Take me back there. What was going on in that moment before you knew everything was going to work out?
A couple things. One was, as scary as this is, it's only going to go up from here. Because I actually have been following Gary around, meaning I've had friends a couple years earlier. My friend Keith had him come, and that was Ask Gary V book. So he was able to do a book by Daryl Eves, has had him at Vid Summit. I think the mindset was you can always look backwards and be like, oh, I missed it. You know, because quote unquote, Gary or whoever, it was more affordable yesterday. Buying a house, missed it. And current economy, it actually might be more affordable in 3 months. Ultimately, we can always go, it was more affordable yesterday. But the other way to frame it is someone like that, their trajectory, he might be even more unreachable, or probably will be more unreachable in a year. It'll actually be more expensive. And then turns out, so I would never could have known that we were actually, literally had I waited a month, his fee would have been different because of supply and demand. So what seemed shocking and scary, and of course we had to back that up with revenue. The first thing was just not letting fear or hesitation once I had, kind of wanted to make the decision. The second big reason to answer your original question was also Grow with Video Live's intent purses. This was a brand play. So I've been around long enough. I've done enough of the events to say, what's the purpose of the event? So you could say, is the purpose of the event to have financial arbitrage, to make as much money as possible? Not a bad reason. Like, okay, how can we keep costs low? Maybe not even try to blow up attendance, not even do paid ads, let's say. Let's do email marketing because our community that loves us could come out. Therefore, expenses are low and we could have, profitability could be incredible. Is the purpose profitability? Is the purpose brand building? And that was the ultimate goal of this. Another question would be, what happens if we lose? What's the worst case scenario? Of course, we'd recover some income to pay off the fee and other whatever. And I just started thinking, would even $150 just lost kill our business? It wouldn't. So thank God we're in a place where it would sting, but it wouldn't be fatal. So years ago, 100K scared me, but that wouldn't have been fatal then either. We could have recovered. So we're making intentional risks, but not betting the entire farm. Like, this better work or else we're going to have to lay off the Think Media team and this whole thing's over. So it was a very scary move, but it was reasonable within adding up and doing the math. And so I was committed that if we ended up 50K negative, 100K negative, but the brand building and the exposure that came from it, would that be worth it? Yes. I think the other piece was not even the event itself that was valuable. What I learned once we made this lead domino decision, that even in just the promotion of the event, all of a sudden people started paying attention to Think Media and Sean Cannell a different way. Like, what? You're having Gary Vee? Like, what the heck's happening? Even to the point where a lot of people were more pumped about Alex, yet they still kind of saw Gary first. It was like, wait, they're both there? Wait a minute, PBD, Alex, and Gary are all at the same event? So it was this idea of, there was the pre-event branding. The actual event turned out great and people loved it, but now we have all the content on the back end. And so I started to realize, okay, that was the original intent. So now in hindsight, and of course, easy to say in hindsight, since we were not only profitable in ticket sales, not only did the whole thing work out, which is all astounding, but then I also in hindsight look at it more, I'd say, I would do it again, but I would encourage somebody else to count the cost, but I would do it again to say, it wasn't, because we made an offer, but it wasn't even just the ticket sales. At this point, I'm like, it was, the ROI was already there. But now we have definitely the rest of the year, but probably the next 2 years of this content being going out in vertical. So it is one of my best investments I've ever made in my entire career. And that was what I set out wanting to do. Much more terrified, not seeing as clear as I see now at all. It went according to plan. It was like, Gary is an awareness brand play. And I had friends telling me this too, and I knew this intrinsically, that the other key about Gary was leverage to invite other speakers. As soon as he's confirmed, like for example, Vanessa Lau, now she had spoken at our event virtually the year before, but literally this is what I said, hey, would you be interested in speaking? She looks and sees Gary's there. And she told me later, she goes, as soon as I saw it, I stopped thinking. I just said yes. And I was like, I don't even know if I'm available those dates, but I'm going to figure this out. And so that whole lead domino idea really was my thinking. And, there's a recent book called Be Your Future Self Now by Benjamin Hardy. Great book. I love Benjamin Hardy. And he says that if you want to keep being pulled into the future you're called to as an entrepreneur, as an artist, as a designer, building a company, you got to keep making bigger and bigger bets.